Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys Saturday, March 24th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, and we've got the whole gang. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Andrew McGinnis, Dana Lane, and Alex B. Smith ready to rock and roll on this Saturday. A reminder before we get into today's card, very important we get this out there that we will have a special bonus edition of the NHL Ice Guys on Monday, March 26th, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have 4 shows upcoming this week, the usual Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday rotation, but also on Monday, we're here, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be breaking down a rare, larger Monday NHL card. So we said, let's do an extra show. We tried to arrange for that, and we have gotten it. So Monday, 9 a.m. is our next show. Make sure you join us. We'll get the week started for you right here at SBR Videos on the SBR YouTube channel on Monday morning, March 26, 9 a.m. Special bonus edition of the NHL Ice Guys. Don't you dare miss it. Let's go. Vegas, Colorado to begin this card. 51-52, 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Puck drop here. -110 on both sides. Even money in this game. The total 6 shaded to the under. -115 here in this one. The Colorado Avalanche coming off one of their worst, ugliest performances of the entire season, and it has to be their worst performance on home ice. I mean, that home ice at Pepsi Center has been damn good to the Colorado Avalanche this season. Not so much on Thursday night, 7-1 drubbing at the hands of the Los Angeles Kings in a battle between a couple of teams that are currently holding down the wild card positions in the Western Conference. So you've got Colorado off just one of their worst performances of the season. A little reluctant I would be to go against them here in this spot today. You would think they're going to come out with a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of fire, trying to avenge that. Certainly their postseason spot not exactly guaranteed. I know they're in a good position right now in that second wild card spot, but you still got some teams that are right behind you, even though it doesn't look like they're capable of maybe of putting a run to. Maybe St. Louis is. I mean, St. Louis is still there. They've got a shot. You've got Dallas that's hanging around. Unfortunately, Dallas with just a crippling loss for them last night. When you have a 2-goal lead at home going into the third period and you can't find a way to win against a banged up hockey team, that's tough. So Colorado, they've got still people right behind them trying to nip at their heels, trying to take that playoff spot from them. So if you're Colorado, you're off a bad performance like that the other night, 7-1 to the Kings. I would think there's going to be a extra incentive and desperation here to want to bounce back. Like we say, though, must win does not equal will win. But what it does mean is that I'm going to be reluctant to go against Colorado here in this game today. Vegas, I thought Malcolm Subban was phenomenal against San Jose. I mean, everyone concerned that what are they going to do without Marc-Andre Fleury? Well, Malcolm Subban's no stiff. He's no slouch. Maybe he's not Marc-Andre Fleury, but he's still a goalie that's got some talent, got some ability. Consistency is still an issue with him, but when he's on his game, he can give any team a chance to win, and he proved that the other night against San Jose. Even though Vegas ends up losing that game in overtime, 2-1. I mean, you stop 42 shots on 44 shot attempts. That's pretty good. For Malcolm Subban first start. And Vegas, off a loss is usually not a team I'm looking to go against. So this is a Vegas team that's probably going to be a little motivated. Colorado certainly should be, but not a game I'm going to get involved with. Reluctantly, I was leaning to Colorado, but -110, I was hoping something a little bit better than that. Vegas, again, off a loss, has been a track record that has been so strong this year that I'm not really comfortable going against that either. So, personally, for me in this game, it's going to be one to stay away from. But Colorado, certainly a team that's going to be looking to avenge just an ugly loss the other night. And I'm looking at the standings right now. Colorado at 88, St. Louis with that win over Vancouver last night. They've moved up to 87, so they are 1 point back at Colorado. So this is big time now for Colorado in terms of they need a response here today in a big way with the Blues now suddenly right back with some life again, trying to get back into the postseason after they had a miserable swoon there for quite some time in February, trying to get back into the postseason and right on the heels of this Colorado team. So this is a big 2 points today at stake for the Avalanche off a horrible performance, horrible showing against LA. We'll see if they are able to get the job done here against Vegas. Should be a good afternoon game, actually, to begin the day. We've got Calgary, San Jose, 53-54 here. We've got San Jose -165 to -170 home favorites here. The total 5.5 shaded to the under here in this hockey game. And we can basically get the shovels out, put some dirt down, and just basically lower the casket right now for the Calgary Flames. That's it for them. They pissed away their last opportunity to really have a legitimate chance at making it back into this playoff race in the West with just, I don't know, a dismal 4-0 loss against the Anaheim Ducks. John Gibson was good. Calgary, that was their last stand. They actually didn't play a terrible game. They did generate shots, they did generate chances, but the familiar refrain remains the same for Calgary. Not enough production. This has been their season the last few games. They've now lost 4 in a row going into this one. Season on the line, and you can only score 2 goals in your last 3 games combined. Where's the offense gone? Mike Smith talking about how he needs more from his teammates. How about needing a little bit more from you in terms of stopping a puck? You're supposed to be an upgrade from Kari Ramo, Jonas Hiller, and all these stiffs they've had in years past. And here you are giving up 4, 5, 4, 7 goals on a nightly basis. How about you do a little bit more, Mike Smith? Come on. It's not just the teammates. You haven't been good enough. You're a veteran goalie. You thought you'd be an upgrade for this team. Hasn't been that way. He's been disappointing as well for this Flames team. Glenn Gulletson, who's definitely on the hot seat. I am not at all sure he's going to be back in a Calgary Flames bench next year. Not what I'm hearing. There's whispers that his job will be evaluated in the offseason. And when your job's evaluated in the offseason, that usually means you're out the door. So now you got situations where people are going to get shut down. There's talk Sean Monahan's going to get shut down for the season for this Calgary team. You're already without Matt Tkachuk, who's injured with an upper body injury and out. Christopher Steeg's out. TJ Brody on the blue line's out with an upper body injury. So yeah, basically there's no frickin' way I'm playing Calgary here. Now the question is, can you get to the San Jose side in some way, shape, or form? Maybe you can. Maybe you can lay the price. Maybe you can go puck line. San Jose is playing good hockey. They've won 6 straight games. They've dominated Vegas, even though they only won 2-1 in overtime, dominated territorially, shots the whole bit. And they've had to do this without injury, with some key injuries. Joe Thornton, Joel Ward, Eunice Donskoy's been injured. They were without Melker Karlsson for a little bit. Mark-Edouard Vlasic's been in and out with some injuries lately. He's probable, though, for this game. So San Jose's done it without some key cogs in the lineup. Impressive stuff from Peter DeBoer's team. So for me, it's simple. San Jose or pass. Depends on what you want to do with it, whether you want to go money line or puck line. But there's no way I could recommend Calgary, given their woes and given the fact that when push has come to shove here and they've needed to step up in pressure spots, they've not been able to do it. Alex B. Smith, this is on your card. San Jose, Calgary. What do you got here?
Yeah, I'm looking for the puck line here. I went against Calgary in their last game with Anaheim. That was my actually game of month winner, and Anaheim was just absolutely brilliant. They're playing for a playoff spot. So Calgary needed that game to try and at least stay alive, and they just didn't show up. They've now allowed 25 goals in their last 6 games. He said they're just not going to be able to get it done, especially when you talk about now no TJ Brody. And you mentioned Sean Monahan going to be shut down. Christopher Stieg already shut down with his hip injury. That's a lot of guys that you're missing. Matt Kachuk, another key player. He may not show up on the scoreboard every night, but what he does is brings a lot of energy. The high impact player likes to throw his body around. So if you don't have any kind of at least having those energy guys late in the year when you're out of it, sometimes that can get contagious and maybe fire up a team for a period or two. But they just have nothing. They just look absolutely lifeless right now. You look at San Jose on the opposite end. They said won 6 games in a row. They've scored 29 goals within that streak. They're getting some good goaltending again now for Martin Jones. We saw him kind of struggle a little bit in the stretch. So now that's a huge piece for them. If he can heat up and stay hot going into the postseason, they're only 7 points back of Vegas. I'm sure it would take a gigantic effort for them to leapfrog and take the top spot in the division. But at least, obviously, the key is to get the number 2 spot and get that home ice in the first round. We already saw them blow out Calgary a week ago, 7-4. I think we're going to see more of the same here. So I'm looking at the Sharks on the puck line.
All right, Sharks puck line for Alex B. Smith. Can't really argue with that. Andrew McGinnis, you're also involved Calgary, San Jose here. Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys kind of touched quite a bit of it already, but like you mentioned, I mean, the Sharks on a huge streak right now. Pretty good streak for themselves, 6-0 in the last 6 overall. But more important to me coming into this matchup, guys, I know Calgary's a weaker team, but Sharks 8-2 in the last 10 home games, and it is like you guys mentioned. I'll just have to echo it one more time. The injuries are adding up for this Calgary team. I mean, obviously Versteeg has been out for the season, but you've got TJ Brody on the blue line injured, and more importantly, John Monahan, but Matthew Kachuk. And like Alex said, Alex, I really agree with you with that because when you're a team that's struggling, that doesn't really have any purpose right now, their identity is really nothing. You got to have that energy. You got to have someone to come out there and spark something, and at least carry the energy and have some kind of you know uh, motivation factor for them to go out there and try and put up that good performance and try and end your season on a good note. But some of those key guys being out, I think it's kind of either one, a good opportunity for someone else to step up, or two, it's kind of deflating, and it's a better team like San Jose is ready to just stomp all over you. So for me, looking at San Jose right now, I really like the way they've been playing, guys. But to be quite honest with you, they literally haven't been beating too many great teams. If you look back at when their win streak started, it was with Detroit, then Edmonton, then Calgary again, then Vancouver, and then they played New Jersey. That was a good win, 6-2, and then a nice 2-1 win versus Vegas. So for me, I think this is a good test, and it's like I said, at this time of year, guys, when you're playing a team that's way worse than you, like they're playing Calgary right now, they're going to take this very, very seriously. I I understand how sometimes teams do wake up for certain games more, but when it's this time of year, when it is this late into a season, I can guarantee that teams are ready to go out there. They're probably waking up today. They're ready to pound Calgary and put them into the ground. So when I see plus 180 at a puck line right now for this Sharks team, just have to beat Calgary by two. It's an easy bet for me. I think they're a stronger team. They have a lot more depth. They're stronger down the middle, and for that reason, I'll agree with you guys. I agree with Alex and puck line on the Shark.
Yeah, Park. All right, so we got multiple Shark puck line recommendations from Andrew and Alex on this game, and yeah, I mean I've been hearing about it now for a couple of days now. When watching Calgary games locally, there, Eric Francis is a guy that follows the Flames very closely. It's kind of like their not beat writer, but insider. Follows them closely. He's always on the Flame broadcast. Eric Francis is very well connected with that team, pretty much saying that Glenn Gulletson ain't going to be back next season. So it's a shame because he's a good guy. Everyone says good things about the man, but unfortunately, when your team is just when push comes to shove and in crunch time, when this is what you're seeing from the Calgary Flames, it's hard to it's an indictment, unfortunately, on any coach when you see that kind of run that Calgary's had when they've needed wins in the worst way, and instead they've been a complete flop during this stretch when they've needed these wins. So it's unfortunate, but that when your team performs as lousy as they have in these big spots in recent games, that's trouble for any head coach, and that's in any sport. We've got Arizona, Florida, 55-50. Yeah.
I mean, with the plus 180, I mean, I think that's a pretty good price. I mean, that we're getting against this Calgary Flames team right now. That's what I'm wondering, guys. I mean, obviously, I'm not really just completely fading Calgary. Obviously, I think the Sharks are a great team. They're playing good hockey right now. But sometimes you do have to look at the price, and with that plus 180, you can't really second guess it.
Well, the thing is too, with their last 5 losses, they've all been by margin as well. All of these last 5 losses for Calgary, they've all been 2 goals or more. So, no problem taking the puck line. You're better off. Better off just skipping the money line because when Calgary's lost lately, they've lost decisively. They've lost by multiple goals. So, I think it makes a lot of sense. If you like San Jose in this game, do what my ice guys have told you to do, and that's take the puck line. Don't lay the money line because chances are if they lose again today, they're going to be losing by 2, 3, 4 goals once again. Arizona, Florida. We've got Florida minus 200, 205. Big favorite here. Florida, massive favorite against Arizona. The total 5.5, pretty much across the board here. Florida's another team. Boy, you talk about must win, but they're getting to the point now with less than 10 games left in the season. 3 back of New Jersey. That was a huge 2 points for New Jersey in a tough scheduling spot last night against Pittsburgh, winning in overtime. That puts Florida 3 points back of New Jersey for that second wild card spot in the East. So every game is like a matter of life and death right now for Florida. They need every win they can get. They're coming off a shutout loss to the just scorching hot Columbus Blue Jackets right now, who are just playing absolutely incredible at this point in time. Florida was at the end of their wrath the other night against that Columbus team, but obviously I would give Florida a pretty decent chance to bounce back. However, I'm not going to lay this price. I'm not even going to take puck line here because you're probably going to see Antti Raanta in net for Arizona. Darcy Kemper's been horrible for the most part. I mean, he had 2 good starts with Arizona where he gave up 1 goal. And guess who Darcy Kemper faced in those 2 starts? Yeah, Vancouver. Offensively challenged Vancouver, injury-riddled Vancouver. That's it. Kemper, every other start for him with Arizona has been very shaky. But you're probably going to see Raanta back in here tonight because that was a back-to-back when Kemper was in against Carolina, and he wasn't good. Ranta's been very good. Very, very good as of late. So I'd be very, very worried about laying a big steep number like this with Florida. I mean, Ranta's been really that good. He has kept Arizona in most games. He's very rarely given up more than 2 or 3 goals a game in recent starts. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a if you're in a 1-1 game with 4 minutes to go in the third period tonight, Arizona and Florida, and you got this Florida ticket in your pocket and you're worried, I'm not going to tell you I'm shocked. I think Arizona's battling. They're night after night. They're in a lot of these games. Again, must win does not equal will win. Don't always flock to the must win team, especially when they're laying this kind of lumber. That's just a little piece of advice there if you're going to attack this hockey game tonight. Dana Lane, this is his first game on the card tonight, Coyotes and Panthers. Dana, what do you like here?
Yeah, that must win label is so ridiculous, because if a team is in this position, that must win has happened months ago. So obviously they're in this position because they can't produce when they must win. So and when I'll hear people in the books all the time saying, well, this team's got to win tonight. What's gotta win mean? I mean, either you're better or you're not. I mean, there's some times where you're more motivated, but I tend to put that more with the better teams than I do the bad teams. And believe me, I'd love to see Florida get in the postseason, because over the last month, I mean, they are absolutely as fun to watch as anybody in the league. But really, they're in this position because they're not consistent. So we're not going to look at the side tonight, but we are going to look at the total. And the Panthers are returning home after being on the road for 3 games, and it's a 1-gamer at home against Arizona, where maybe their focus isn't where it needs to be, considering they do have to go out and play a 4-game road trip right after that. And it's interesting this year, it's kind of come on my radar a little bit about how do I attack 1-gamers at home. And I've kind of got to the point where I kind of look at them as road games, because that's essentially you're going through the road game motions. And I don't think teams perform at their peak level when obviously when they're on the road versus at home. We have seen recently Florida lost to Columbus 4-0. If we take out the 7-goal game against Ottawa, they've scored like I said, 0 against Columbus. They've scored 2 against Montreal, 2 against Edmonton, and that was coming off some really good offensive performances. So there's some indication that the Panthers have kind of hit their peak and kind of hit the wall. Although they had plenty of chances the other night against Columbus, I thought from a defensive perspective that they played okay. There was momentary lapses. The first goal was a turnover. The Milano goal was a defensive turnover. The third goal was a power play redirect, and of course the last one was an empty netter. So yeah, we could look at this and say, well, they scored 4 goals. Well, really 3 of them, and 2 of them really were caused by bad defensive play. There's really nothing you can do on a redirect on a power play. But and from an Arizona standpoint, prior to the Carolina game, where they allowed 6 goals, this team has just allowed 11 goals. If you take this out, they've allowed 11 goals in their last 6 games. And like you said, Rance has been absolutely fantastic. So I have no problem going with the under tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is not a bad play, that total under 5.5. Ranta's been great. Again, Luongo's been very good for the most part since he's been back. So if you get 2 good goaltending performances, you got a good chance to go under this number here, 5.5. Arizona, Florida tonight. In this game. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got Washington, Montreal, 57-58. Montreal, or Washington rather, minus 185. Big road chalk, as you would expect, against this Montreal team. Total 5.5, shaded to the over, minus 120. Hey, let's give Montreal credit here. We bash them a lot. We rip them a lot. They stink, but hey, they won a game last night. Give them credit. There we go. 3-0 shutout win for the Montreal Canadiens. They did it against an equally porous team, but hey, got to start somewhere. 3-0 win against the Buffalo Sabres last night. Second night of back-to-backs for them, now taking on this Washington team. These are the games this late in the season that, when you're on the road for Washington, obviously the better team should win this game, but, minus 185 on the road, puck line on the road. What if they take Montreal for granted a little bit, just sleepwalk, go through the motions, just maybe do enough to win this game? Because that's what they did against Detroit. They didn't play good at all at Washington against Detroit, and were very, very fortunate to get the hell out of there with a 1-0 win against the Red Wings. They needed a great night from Grubauer, and he was fantastic. Detroit carried the play actually against Washington. That's a Detroit team that's not been playing good as of late. They had won just one game in their last 11 prior to that Washington game, and they outplayed Washington. Washington very fortuitous to come away with that win. So this is a game it's hard for me to do much with. I don't want Montreal, but I'm not going to lay the price or even take puck line with Washington. You just worry they may look past this team a little bit here tonight when you look at it. So Caps and Habs for me is a pass. Not for Andrew, though. Caps and Habs is on his card. Andrew, what do you see happening here tonight in Montreal?
Yeah, I have to give a little slow clap for my Canadians. Somehow they shut out a team last night. I mean, I don't care if it's, a farm team. They shut out a team. They did something. So it's the Buffalo Sabres. They found a way. But you know what, guys? I think that Niemi's playing very well. I think he's looking like an actually promising backup. He's looking pretty good. And I think he came into that role very promising yesterday. Again, I know it was the Buffalo Sabres, but it's kind of promising to look at. And I think as a team, collectively, on this back-to-back, you're feeling good about yourself a little bit. You had a good game yesterday. You're a little bit banged up. Philip Deneau's out. Max Pacioretty's been out. Obviously, you're missing Shea Weber for most of the season, it seems. Victor Mete's out, and all this stuff is happening to your team. And I've sat here time and time again. I've bashed on my favorite team. I've bashed on this team while I'm trying to cap them. But the bottom line is, I genuinely do think there is some talent up front with this team. I mean, I don't think that by any means Brendan Gallagher is a first line right winger. No, I don't think by any means. But I think Paul Byron has really settled into his own. I think Jonathan Drouin is really making a name for himself as far as someone that can establish that first line center position. I mean, he's supposed to be on the wing, but he's really established himself in the center. I think Jacob De La Rose has a promising future with the Habs. I think he's kind of developed with the Habs program a little bit. Galchenyuk, I'm still waiting for him to kind of taking that leadership role. But guys, I really think that the over 5.5 is the play on this one. I mean, I think that collectively, with how weak I still think the Habs defense is, with them shutting out a team last night. I mean, let's face it, guys, that's not going to happen again. And when you got the Washington Capitals rolling in, and the Habs are on a back-to-back. They're playing at the Bell Center. It's going to be an exciting game. They usually, they put on a show for their fans. I think it should be an exciting. I would even look at a possible over 1.5 goals in the first period in this one. But you've got Burakovsky coming into town. You've got TJ Oshie coming into town. You've got Ovechkin. You've got Backstrom. You've got Wilson. You've got these guys coming into town. They're not going to take you lightly, I don't think. And that's what I was saying before. And Ian, I get what you were saying. They might just kind of go through the motions. I understand that phrase. But what I've really been saying, for this playoff push is that, these games do matter, right? Because when they're going to look back at, in a couple of weeks' time, be like, wow, did we really lose the Habs last week? I don't think that's going to happen. And they don't want that to happen. And coaches are very serious for these key games because obviously the Habs are absolute trash. So, it's up to them not to let up, right? That's the worst part. You don't want to play your teammates, your opposition's skill, because that's when you really start getting in your head and you really find out how much of a mental game it is. So anytime I see a 5.5 with this Washington Capitals team, and they're relatively rested right now. And again, not to buy into it too much, but with back-to-back with this Canadiens team, I know it was just Buffalo, but they still did play a game last night. They still did shut out a team, and that does take a little bit of effort. Capitals are 6-1 in their last 7 overall. They're 10-2 in their last 12 Saturday games, 5-1 in their last 6 versus the Eastern Conference, 4-1 in their last 5 games following a win. And all the stats really don't point towards Montreal tonight. 3-13 in their last 6 Saturday games. And they're 0-4 in their last 4 after allowing 2 goals or less. And that was kind of the stat, guys, that I really wanted to bring up. Because to me, I know it is kind of a weird stat, but I think 0-4 in their last 4 after allowing 2 goals or less in a previous game. So it's kind of like how Ian was saying earlier. He does not like to fade Vegas after a loss. He likes to go with them or see what they're doing, see what the price is. Same with me. I mean, looking at this Habs team right now, after a good performance, I had them on the money line last night. I feel good about that. No way I'm going back to them. The over 5.5, Washington on the road, coming to the Bell Center is my play on the ice, guys.
All right, over 5.5, -120, Washington and Montreal for Andrew. Yeah, I mean, that total could go either way. It could explode, and it could be like last night. You get a 2-1, 3-1 game. I think totals-wise, this game Very unpredictable from my standpoint, but yeah, better games for me on the card personally. But Andrew involved with the over, Capitals and Habs there. We've got what do we have next up? Tampa Bay taking on New Jersey. The next game here, we've got 59.60 on your rotation. Tampa Bay minus 155. Total 6 shaded slightly to the over at minus 115 in this game. Tampa Bay Lightning off I don't know what to say about that last game they played against the New York Islanders. It was wild and insane. 7-6. They had a 7-3 lead, Tampa Bay, going into the third period of that hockey game. The New York Islanders left for dead after the first 2 periods in that game. Somehow get 3 on the board, threatened to tie it, can't quite do it, can't quite finish off the comeback and fall just short, 7-6. I don't know what more I could say about Andrei Vasilevskiy at this point, other than he's had a great season. He's had a phenomenal season, but he's hitting a wall. It's a mental wall. It's a physical fatigue wall, I think. It's a big time. Fatigue, I think, is really what it is, because this is the most games he's played, and as the season progresses, he's not playing better. He's playing worse. Something you've really got to be concerned about here moving forward. If you're this Tampa Bay Lightning team, and certainly defensively, their game not where you want it to be. You don't like that Vasilevskiy, seems to be playing with a little bit, winded fatigue setting in a little bit this late in the season. Remember, this is his first year as a #1 goalie and playing this many games in a single season, and it could be wearing on him a little bit. It's something that I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and the more you see these results and him giving up 3+ goals more and more often. That's a concern for me moving forward with this Tampa Bay team. We'll see if they can clean things up. They have won 3 in a row, so that's the good news. The bad news is they're still giving up plenty of shots and scoring chances and opportunities, and sometimes you're going to get away with them, and they have been, especially the last 2 games against Toronto and the Islanders. They still managed to win those games, but not going to be able to get away with that for a long, extended period of time. On the flip side, New Jersey, really tremendous win last night against Pittsburgh, 4-3 in overtime, because they were out on the West Coast for 4 games playing in the Pacific time zone. Then you got to go back, play Pittsburgh, only get 2 games between being in San Jose, being in Pittsburgh last night, and you still muster enough energy to get the job done. And they did last night. Just a phenomenal job. If you're looking for an under-the-radar totals trend here, by the way, Devils, by the way, have struggled on back-to-backs. 1-5 their last 6 games on the second night of back-to-back. But the over, 7-1-2 in the Devils' last 10 home games after a road trip of 7 or more days. So this has been a winded, tired defensive hockey team a little bit coming off these games. So that's going to have me looking over the total here in this particular game. Again, Tampa's got to show me, and Vasilevskiy both show me that you're going to be able to improve and clean some things up. Because right now you got a New Jersey team that offensively has been playing pretty good as of late. Taylor Hall with another big goal, overtime winner. Nico Hischier, a big-time goal last night as well. Blake Coleman scored a wonderful one-handed goal to beat Matt Murray. I mean, if you haven't seen that one yet, it was a thing of beauty. It was fantastic. So, again, you got 2 teams that offensively playing good. 2 teams that, certainly by New Jersey's track record, they play a first home game back after a long, long road trip. The results have been higher scoring games, not as sturdy defensive play or goaltending. I'm fascinated to see where John Hines goes with the goaltending tonight for New Jersey, because he's got Keith Kincaid, who's really been playing pretty well lately, and given New Jersey a chance to win every night. But he played last night. This is the second night of back-to-backs. And your other option is Corey Schneider, who I think is winless in 11 straight starts. Can you believe that? Corey Schneider hasn't won in like 11 straight starts. That is how unbelievable the things have been for him. He has just not been able to get a W on the board. And he hasn't really played all that good at times. Some games he's not been at fault, but there's been a lot of games he's been at fault. Look at the San Jose game the other night. He was awful in that game. Finally got a start against the Sharks, and he got pulled in that game. Not good. Corey Schneider's struggling with his confidence. There's no question about that right now. So you got a guy that hasn't won in 10 or 11 straight starts, Schneider, or you got to go with Kincaid on the second straight night. So that's your decision if you're Hines, and it's a big one because this Devils team, just 3 points ahead of Florida, trying to solidify this playoff spot. They need good goaltending on a nightly basis. Keith Kincaid's been giving them that better chance at good goaltending lately, as opposed to Corey Schneider. Let's see who's involved. We've got Dana. This is one of his games. Tampa taking on New Jersey tonight. Interesting game because you got Tampa, obviously one of the best teams in the East. New Jersey needs the points. Should be a good one. Dana, what do you see happening here tonight?
Yeah, I'm going on the premise that Corey Schneider's going to start tonight. I mean, that's what I've heard from every outlet that I trust. So it'll be Vasilevsky and Corey Schneider as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, guys, you know how I feel about these sixes, and I know Vasilevsky, especially in his last 5 games, has just not been up to par. But like you said, Ian, I mean they face a ton of shots, and this is not something that's a recent phenomenon. I mean, Tampa Bay has given up a bunch of shots all season long, and that tends to happen sometimes with teams that are high transition teams that give up a ton of shots. The Pittsburgh Penguins did it last year as well, and of course that worked out okay for them. But interesting enough, from a side perspective, the New Jersey Devils have won both games against the Tampa Bay Lightning this year, which is something I don't think a lot of teams can say. But if you want to jump on the side, there's that. But I'm certainly looking at the total tonight. I was telling Alex before the show, I mean, we still have to remember that this Tampa Bay team is a pretty good defensive team despite the amount of shots they give up. The shots that they give up are usually not of high caliber. So I don't really have a problem with the number of shots they give up on a given night. Victor, as we know, Victor Hedman's probably one of the best, if not one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. And Anton Strawman, his defensive partner, is not going to give you much defensively, but the guy's probably going to end up about a +30 this season, which is fantastic for a defenseman. And of course, being on the Lightning, that absolutely helps that number. But usually the way I grade defensemen, and I always give them a little bit of more of a pass than I do for forwards. If you're within that -10 range, I say, wow, that's it. That's pretty good. That's kind of the first thing I look at before I go any further into a defenseman's play. But I know I'm expecting a lot from New Jersey. I feel like this team is going to wear down at some point. I mean, if you look at their schedule as of late, it's absolutely been the gauntlet. I mean, I think in their last 8 games, off the top of my head, they've played playoff teams, and I think this New Jersey team is going to say, look, we're not going to be, even though New Jersey's pretty good offensively, we're not going to be able to stay with this team offensively. So let's slow things down. They're pretty good on a penalty kill, which you guys know. Is kind of a category for me that has to have a check to go under. Tampa's not great on a penalty kill, but it's good enough for me, and I'm getting even money, and I might as well. I think I'm comfortable taking a chance with the even money on 6. It's very difficult for me to expect 7 goals in an NHL game, despite obviously recent history. So we're going under even money.
All right, Yeah, all right, under 6, Tampa Bay, New Jersey for Dana in that game should be an interesting one. New Jersey need every win they can get right now. See if they can get. That's a brutal spot though tonight. I don't want the New Jersey side. I had a nice New Jersey play last night against Pittsburgh, a team they did well with. And we talk about New Jersey's success against Tampa. How about Pittsburgh, another team they've done well against, and Keith Kincaid backstopping them in every win against Pittsburgh. So give them credit. The Devils, they've been beating some good teams, Tampa and Pittsburgh, multiple times this season. The kind of wins that could be the difference in them getting into the playoffs when it's all said and done. What do we got next up? Chicago, New York Islanders. Oh boy, game of the night right here. 61-62. We've got Islanders -125. Home favorite, total 6.5. Pretty much across the board in this game. Now I know this total 6.5, but there's no freaking way I'm betting it under. None. Zero. There's absolutely no way I'm betting this thing under the total. These are civ defensive teams right now. Not even an issue. There's no argument. There's no debate. These are two absolute brutal teams in their own end right now. Chicago doesn't give a care. If I can steal a Letterkenny term right there, they don't give a care right now at the defensive end. Look at this Chicago team. Lost 5 straight games, 6 to Winnipeg, 5 to how does Buffalo score 5 on you right now? St. Louis 5, Colorado 5, Vancouver banged up. No Besser, no Granlund. They got Pee-wee players basically trying to score goals for them right now, and they put up a 5 spot on this Chicago team right now. I mean, that is how bad it's been for the Blackhawks defensively. They can't stop a puck. Berube and Forsberg are 2 stiffs, can't play, they stink. They're absolutely horrible right now. So right now we got a Chicago team that's just absolutely horrendous defensively right now. Islanders, they've been horrendous defensively all season, pretty much. And the penalty kill, again, has given up 5 goals in the 4 games recently. 7-6 loss to Tampa. They did show up against Pittsburgh with one good, decent defensive effort, 4-1, but they gave up 37 shots in the process. Just one of those nights Pittsburgh wasn't finishing quite as much as they usually do. And then before that, they give up 4 to Carolina, 6 to Washington, 7 to Washington. They've gone over the total now for their last 5 games, the New York Islanders. So this is 6.5, but it's 6.5 for a reason. Frankly, I think it could, maybe even should be 7.5. I got personally no problem. Again, 6.5's not. I need a damn good reason usually to go over 6.5. I've got more than enough damn good reasons here, so we'll be on over 6.5 here in this game. Again, I love overs with 2 teams not in the playoffs. Why do I like the non-playoff teams facing off against one another over the total this late in the season? Because there's lack of defensive intensity. That's number 1. Number 2, you got AHL call-ups littering these lineups on a nightly basis. These are players that are hungry, that are motivated. They want to show you something, showcase their ability, showcase their talent for the coach. What does that mean in terms of the pace of play, style of play? We're a little more aggressive. We're a little more attack-minded. We want to, make some plays with the puck. We want to showcase that, hey, we can score goals, make things happen here at the NHL level. But sometimes you're also, because you want to try to do too much, prone to giving the puck away, turning it over in areas where you shouldn't, providing good scoring chances and goals sometimes for the opposition. Those factors combined, 2 non-playoff teams facing off against one another this late in the season, you get a bunch of overs, I find. It's a long-term track record of success in these games late in the season. 2 non-playoff teams over the total. That's what we'll go with here. Chicago and the New York Islanders over 6.5. Alex B. Smith, what do you got here? Blackhawks and Islanders. This is the game of the night, I'm telling you.
This is without question the worst game of the card, probably the last 2-3 weeks. Both these teams are absolutely horrific. Hawks have lost 19 of the last 25 games going back to February 1st. Islanders have lost 12 of their last 14 games. The only angle, I mentioned it with Dana earlier before the show, was that if Jean-Francois Berube is playing, he would be going up against his old team and the Islanders. If maybe that would spark something, I doubt it. And even then, it still wouldn't matter. He's still a horrible mid-range goalie at best. 6.5 is high, but that's the only way I can look here. The Hawks 5-1-1 in the over the last 7. He said there's a ton of call-ups, not much defense played here between the two. It's just kind of roll the puck out and see who scores the most goals. So over 6.5 is the only thing I would be looking at here.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite terms. Alex is picking up on it. You're right. The 2 non-playoff teams this late in the season. Let's roll the puck out on the ice, have some fun. You go up and down and just maybe try to, just wing it around, have some fun. Defense doesn't matter. Nobody cares about, especially on these 2 teams as of late. So yeah, I mean, it's a perfect recipe for what should be some goals. And you talk about it. I mean, Berube or Forsberg, none of these guys are good right now. None of these guys are confident. They're giving up 4 or 5 goals on a nightly basis. They miss, obviously, Corey Crawford really effectively ended the season right there for Chicago once he was out. And it's not like Jarro Halak's been any better. I mean, you look at his recent starts, they've not been good. 4 goals allowed against Carolina, 5 goals allowed against Washington. He's likely going to be in tonight instead of Christopher Gibson, finally giving Gibson a break, who's actually been the one decent goalie the Islanders have had as of late. The young kids really come in there and given them a little bit of a spark in net. I actually think could be a downgrade now going back to Jarro Halak tonight. So, there's going to be chances. There's going to be a ton of chances tonight. It's just a question of will those chances be converted into goals. This is also on Dana's card, Blackhawks Islanders. Dana, what do you see here?
Well, I guess I'm 100% confused about who's going to start in net tonight. I mean, I went on the premise that Halak was going to start, and then there was a lot of talk about Berube, which I can't find anywhere. And then Christopher Gibson popped up on the hockey database as another website that said that he was going to start or projected to start. So who knows who's going to start tonight? But I'll go on the premise that Halak is going to start just by the fact that he's on more websites than any other. But hey, look, I know that the Islanders and the Lightning netted 13 goals. The Hawks and Canucks got 7. So, I mean, it's just everywhere you look, it's over. But if it's one thing that the Islanders have done pretty well this season, and that's played well against Western Conference teams. And I'm not talking about Minnesota. I'm talking about teams that truly have to travel from the West Coast, or or on a trip from the West Coast. And the last time that we saw that was against Calgary, and I thought Halak was sensational in that game. In fact, I remember a game where Halak was here in Vegas. I mean, I saw him up close and personal, and I thought he commanded the crease. I thought he looked very stable in net, and maybe. And I told my buddy this watching him. I said, you know what? Maybe this guy just needs to be relaxed and not in such a high intensity situation. Maybe against Western Conference teams, he just doesn't feel it like he does against the East. And so, look, we all know that both of these teams have issues, but I feel like just Halak's a little bit more engaged when the pressure is off. You do have the Blackhawks, who may not be having their best offensive year, but they still keep teams honest with enough shots on net, or not high quality shots. But I think that there'll be enough to keep Halak engaged if, in fact, he does start tonight. So you know how I feel about the 6.5s. I think Halak is going to play extremely well tonight if he does get the start. So I'm going under 6.5. You guys can rip me now if you want.
No, that's all right. Under 6.5. It's a high total, but to me, 4-3 games not asking a lot with these two teams right now. We'll see how it goes. But what did they played a crazy game earlier this season against one another too. Chicago, 7-3 in that game. Chicago and the New York Islanders as well. And there were a total of 85 shots on. Oh, there'll be 85 shots combined at least tonight, guaranteed. The way these two teams are going defensively right now. Yeah, there were 85 shots when the Hawks and Islanders played one another back on January 20th. So, yeah, good luck with that, Berube and Forsberg on the one side and Halak on the other. You're gonna be facing a lot of rubber tonight. Let's put it that way. But again, facing a lot of rubber doesn't always equate to 7 goals. But
it's where the rubber comes from, Ian.
Yep.
It's where the rubber comes from.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's about burying the chances. You could have a grade A scoring chance, and then you fan on a shot, you hit the post, shoot it wide. That happens. So yeah, Dana's on the under, Alex and I on the over. So someone's going to win a totals bet in that game. St. Louis, Columbus, 63-64. We've got Columbus minus 150, total 5.5 shaded to the under, minus 135 in this game. Not a whole lot. Columbus is not a team I'm going against right now. Fantastic. They're playing. St. Louis, though, obviously we know they're right on the heels, nipping at Colorado, 1 point back. Huge game for them. Playing better, St. Louis, but there's no way, no how until I see Columbus stumble that I'm going against them right now. So not a game I'll be involved. Under kind of makes sense. I mean, St. Louis is playing a little bit better defensively. Bobrovsky's been fantastic. I mean, he's been excellent, razor sharp in net for Columbus. So this actually could be one of those games where total goals could be hard to come by. In fact, I'll get on that actually, under 5.5. I like that a bit, minus 135. It's more juice than I like to lay with that, but I don't think we'll see a ton of goals here in this game tonight. Blues and the Blue Jackets. Even though Columbus has really been good offensively as of late, St. Louis might grind this thing down into a 2-1, 3-1 type of game. Alex B. Smith, what do you got here with the Blues and the Blue Jackets?
Yeah, sorry about that. My microphone working. Yeah, this Blue Jackets team, you see, with 10 in a row, and we've seen this happen, a couple of years now where they've had multiple, double-digit game win streaks. You kind of wonder, what are they trying to look for now as far as moving on ahead, and will they be wondering when's the streak going to break? We also saw this too with Nashville right now, having their points streak broken. So the pressure always mounts when you have teams start winning more and more games. And this is a Blues team that's fighting for their playoff lives, trying to climb back into it. Jake Allen's been the guy who's now picked up the slack. We've kind of seen this from him a couple of years ago, where he was the hot goalie to ride on down the stretch. So it's going to be a tough game. My gut wanted to go with looking at Columbus maybe on the puck line, but I think the Blues really do have a shot here at plus price. That's the side I'm leaning with. It's not a full-on play, but I'm definitely leaning with the Blues. I think they're going to be focused, and want to be the team to try and end that streak for Columbus.
All right, a little lean to the Blues there at very solid plus price, saying they could upset this very strong Columbus apple card at this point in time. Detroit, Toronto, 65-66. Toronto minus 250. Huge favorite here. Total 6 shaded to the under, minus 115. I'll tell you what, the Detroit had nothing going for them. 10 losses in a row, 0-9-1 they were going into the Philly game early this week, which unfortunately cost me. A lot of us like the Flyers in that game. Detroit ends up winning it in a shootout. They gave them life. They should have beat Washington the other night. They should have. They lost 1-0. They outplayed Washington, outshot them, took the play to them. Philip Grubauer was fantastic. That win legitimately gave Detroit a mini little burst of momentum and adrenaline going in to that game against Washington. And Washington, again, a pretty good team. I don't think they're a great elite. Can they win the cup team? No, but they're a good team. And Detroit took it to them throughout the matter of that hockey game the other night in that 1-0 loss. So Detroit's had two good efforts in a row. They played with much more confidence with the puck, much more energy against Washington, even in a losing effort after snapping their 10-game losing streak against Philly. So the point of all that is, I don't think this may be a cakewalk tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this game. And this is sometimes a spot where Toronto's flopped. They're off a huge win. I mean, a huge win. I mean, you go into Nashville and beat the Nashville Predators 5-2 in impressive fashion, stomp a mud hole in them. It's definitely impressive. There's no denying that. A great win for them. But there have been instances where this team, Toronto, I'm talking about, has been off a big win and flopped the next game and just been lackadaisical, gone through the motions, barely done enough to get by, and sometimes in some cases lose the game. So what I'm going to do here, it's not best bet, but what I did get involved here, I'm doing a split bet. And I don't usually do this, but I'm going to do a split bet here when it comes to the side. I'm going to go equal amounts, half with Detroit plus 1.5 goals minus 120 on the puck line, half on Detroit money line. I could honestly see this as a tough spot here for Toronto. You're off two huge games against Tampa and Nashville, big time measuring stick games. Matthews comes back, everyone's on board. Now everyone exhales, takes a deep breath after a big win against Nashville where they played great. Mike Babcock singing their praises, one of the best games we've played all year. And then you come home, face lowly Detroit here, and you're just, it's like you hit a wall. Here's little lowly Detroit coming in, and after huge exhilarating efforts the last two nights against two of the better teams in the league, it could happen. I mean, watch out, Toronto. This could be a spot where they stumble just a little bit. So I don't know if I trust Detroit to get the straight win, but I'm going to split it up a little plus 1.5 puck line on Detroit minus 120 and a little on the money line as well. I just think it's a dismal situational spot here for Toronto. I know they're playing pretty good as of late, scoring goals, no question about that. 4-1 in their last 5 games, but and then you look at the recent series history, Detroit, Toronto, 7 of the last 10 meetings, 1-goal games decided by 1 goal. The last time they played 3-2 Toronto. Detroit for some reason has been a little bit feisty against Toronto and given them a game in a lot of instances. So that's what I'm looking for here. Just give them a game, and I think Detroit might be able to do that. Andrew, this is one of his games at Detroit, Toronto tonight. What do you see here?
Here's something, Ian, I don't really tend to do too much, but sometimes I have a little bit on the Ice Guys show, and what I'm going to do in this, I'm going to go a little bit on that Toronto on the puck line at around minus 110, minus 5, and I'm also looking. I am very, very happy to see. Personally, I think Detroit is going to win this game, Ian, or Detroit's going to even keep it close, close scoring. But if Toronto's going to control this, that puck line coverage, I'm thinking both spots. The fact in what you said about Philadelphia was true. I mean, I was on the Philadelphia side as well, but it was plus 139 on the fact is, look at two lineups. I don't care about someone being tired. I don't care about if they're on a back to back at all or whatever it is. They could play 20 games in a row and they're playing Detroit right now. Simply more talent on this Toronto Maple. That's I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't learned right over the past right now, but I'm also not going to sit here and credit away from the top line, Simon, Matt, Lander, Garner, Carlo. Like those two lines are non-comparable what we're getting. I mean, Fetterberg, Nyquist, Bertuzzi on your top line. I mean, it's not really what I imagine as my all-star top line compared to what we're getting. And personally, I look at that matchup, and it's always been a little bit of a rivalry. Not the biggest rivalry, but the fact is, Detroit still is 1-11 up the last 12 months. That hasn't changed. They're they're still struggling. I mean, I think that Philadelphia game was like, whoa, Razik came back to play Detroit, and all of a sudden, wow, on a 5-4 game against Philadelphia. Before that, they're still losing, 4-1 to LA, 4-2 to Anaheim, 5-1 to Colorado. Very, very quiet. One loss. In the essence of it, look at that. Goals gone under in 4 Detroit's last 1 games. More importantly, though, 6 Detroit's last games of playing on the road against Toronto gone under, and also Detroit is 1-6 straight up last when playing Toronto. For me, I understand what you're saying, Ian. I mean, Toronto has off a lot of big games, but like I mentioned, I'm very strong with this. I'm going to stay firm with this. I think that every game really does matter. A lot of times during a regular season, you can say certain times, certain teams more awake, more alert, more prepared, more prepped. There's a lot more strategy gone into games when it's when it's a team matchup, when it actually matters, when a team your coach really gives a shit. Not in this. I don't really think that a second guess one. Right, one that steady and could steal one. I don't think Babcock wants that to happen. Come out strong, I think, but my leans are the puck line, the under, stronger on the under.
All right, Leafs puck line and under from what we made out of that. It looks like that's what Andrew's going with there. Andrew's mic cutting in and out, audio cutting in and out. I think SBR is going to try to get him, drop him from the call, bring him back in, see if that fixes it. But yeah, something with Andrew's audio there, giving us some issues. But we got the gist of it there. Leafs puck line and under is what he's looking at there. Interesting. So he's looking at like a 3-1, 4-1 type of thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. We'll see if that does the trick. There he goes off into cyberspace, just floating around out there. We got 67-68 Carolina, Ottawa. Carolina minus 130, road favorite here. The total 6, shaded slightly to the under, about minus 115 here in this game. Here's another situation. 2 teams out of the playoffs. 2 teams that are not really doing much of anything defensively right now. Carolina's goaltending is horrific right now. Ward and Darling are brutal. They're on an over streak, something like 5 or 6 straight games. Carolina over the total. Ottawa's certainly not quit offensively. They're still a team that's pretty dangerous, actually, offensively, scoring goals, been able to find the back of the net, just as dangerous to themselves defensively, though, unfortunately, in terms of keeping the opposition out of the back of the net. So for me, easy call here. Not easy call. It could lose. I understand that. But easy for me to go in and here say I want over 6 in this game. We had Carolina, Arizona over the total the other night. It was an easy one. I think it's going to be Darling tonight, last I heard, so that's even better. He's been beyond bad. I mean, did you see that performance against Edmonton earlier this week? Just awful. And that's been the season in a nutshell for Scott Darling. So, yeah, Carolina, Ottawa, for me, we're going to go over 6, minus 105. I got no issue doing that. Should see chances, should see opportunities. Carolina's given a lot of their young guys an opportunity now in this lineup. So you're seeing defensive miscues, but you're also seeing them generate a lot, actually, some of these young guys. Again, it goes back to that theory. When you got these youngsters in the lineup that you've called up, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to want to generate offense, chances, but they're also going to try to make that extra hope pass, that extra, dangerous play across the ice and maybe result in a turnover and it goes the other way and ends up in the back of your own net. So I think having those call-ups from the AHL benefits the over from both aspects. Gives you a better chance to score, and you might cough the puck up more and give them a better chance to score. So over 6 for me, Carolina, Ottawa, there in that hockey game. Hurricanes and Senators battling it out there for not much, but they'll be battling, though, in that game. Buffalo, New York Rangers, 69-70. Rangers minus 170. Big favorite here. Total 6. Minus 120, minus 125. There's another team I've been riding over the total, game in and game out, the New York Rangers. They're not stopping anybody right now defensively, giving up 4 or 5 goals on a nightly basis. Henrik Lundqvist, Alexander Georgiev, does not matter. Not doing a good enough job in net either. Defensively, it's a struggle right now for the New York Rangers. My one worry is Buffalo's not doing anything offensively right now. It's been a terrible week for them in terms of scoring. They've been shut out twice. Scored just 1 goal against the Nashville early in the week, so it's been a real struggle for the Buffalo Sabres. All of a sudden, to put the puck in the net, you're not seeing a whole lot of effort from this Buffalo team. It's really shameful what they're playing like for Phil Housley here in his first year as the head coach. I know they're well out of it. They've been a bad team all season, but seems like now that they're getting this close to the end of the season, their effort is really coming into question on a nightly basis. Buffalo definitely looking like a team that, unlike Arizona, which is showing you a little spunk here and effort on a nightly basis, Buffalo looks like they're just playing out the string. We're going to tank. We're going to try to get Rasmus Dahlin as our number one pick in the draft. Do everything we can to make sure we give ourselves a chance to get him. So, Buffalo's ability to capitalize on this porous Rangers defense is certainly a question mark. But considering, I've been on the Rangers over multiple times, I'm going to go back to it. Not one of my favorites here. It's worrisome that I got to trust Buffalo to do something for me offensively tonight when they haven't done it all week. But we'll go ahead and do it anyway. We'll take the over here. Actually, I'll get 5.5 at minus 118 at Heritage. So again, that's why, and Heritage is one of my books. It's one of the recommended books, sbrodds.com. There is that 5.5 out there on this game. Very important. If you're joining me on the over in the Sabres-Rangers game, get that 5.5 at minus 118 at Heritage. It could be the difference maker when it's all said and done. So I'll go over and I'll take it at that 5.5 number minus 118 that is currently out there at Heritage Sports, Sabres and Rangers tonight. Nashville, Minnesota, 71-72. Nashville minus 115, road favorite, total 5.5 here across the board. Nashville off. And Peter Laviolette said we just, we weren't sharp. We weren't ready. And it was kind of a weird spot for Nashville. I mean, it snapped their incredible win streak, 5-2 loss to Toronto, but they were returning home off a road trip. Now you're playing Toronto at home in an isolated home game. Now you're going back on the road for a bunch of inside the conference, inside the division road games. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those games that I give Toronto all the credit for winning it. They played great, but it was not Nashville's A game. Let's put it that way. It was a little bit of both. It was very good Toronto. It was not so good Nashville, and probably one of the weakest efforts we've seen out of Nashville in quite some time. And you get Nashville off a loss. It's always something that's a bet on spot for me, and it's probably going to be that way here. I know Minnesota, certainly a team that's played good at home on home ice this season. There's no denying that. When you look at Minnesota's home record, it's been very good, 24-13 at home on the season. Not easy to make a case for going against them, especially when they're this cheap on home ice. But, when Peter Laviolette and the team, and Nashville knows it, they've been around the block. They were at a cup final last year. When they play bad, they know it. And they know they didn't have their A game Thursday night. I think they'll play much better tonight. And you give me minus 110, minus 110 at Heritage. Again, there's Heritage coming through for me with these cheap prices on sides and totals I like. Excellent. There's minus 115 mostly everywhere else. I can get minus 110 on Nashville at Heritage Sports. That's what I'm going to go with. I mean, I like Nashville off a loss. Good situation here. I know they're coasting right now in terms of first in the Central, but loss like that probably didn't sit well with them the other night. I think they can bounce back. And there's another team very good off a loss this season, the Nashville Predators. I think they got a chance to show that to be true to form again in this game tonight. Alex B. Smith is going to talk about this game, of course, as well as most wild games. Nashville, Minnesota. For you, Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned it before. Nashville had a 15-game point streak going before they lost that game to Toronto. And now they're coming back to the first of 3 division games. They lead the division by 6 points, so every point's huge. They want to win the division, obviously, and get that number 1 spot within the Central. But you look at this Minnesota team; they haven't played in a few days, and now they're going to start the first of 3 games in 4 nights. And there's a quote from Bruce Boudreau. He says, "I think you could tell that they're tired of practicing. They're tired of sitting on the sidelines and want to be involved in this thing. We hope we got some rest, get some enthusiasm, and got some good practice time in. These are 3 things that we wanted to do." So you look at the Wild; they're 10-1-4 in the last 15 games overall. Like I said, they've been an excellent team at home, and the home team has won the last 5 meetings here. So I think the Wild, they're fighting for their playoff lives. Obviously, they lead 3 points, 3 points ahead of St. Louis and 1 point ahead of Colorado. This is a much bigger game here for Minnesota than it is for Nashville. So I'm looking at the Wild here. Like I said, a cheap price at home. That's the side I'm looking at tonight.
That's a good quote, actually, from Bruce Boudreau. So we'll see if the rest comes into play here tonight, taking on this Nashville team. So Nashville, you're right. From an urgency standpoint, there should be a lot more on this game from Minnesota. I mean, they're not guaranteed yet of the playoffs. I mean, 90 points. They've got work to do still. St. Louis is only 3 points behind them. As we've got Ice Dog now. It's why don't we call it the NHL Ice Dogs at this point?
Well, he's been driving me nuts the whole show. I gotta put my coffee cup next to me, and I gotta do something with him. He just Brand new puppy. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, it's funny. There's actually an OHL team, Ontario Hockey League junior team called the Ice Dogs, the Niagara Ice Dogs. So there we go. He should be the
Long Beach
mascot
Ice
there.
Dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Should be the mascot there. Dana's a little pup. Oh, so cute though. Oh, what are you saying there? That's what I always say when I'm talking about.
If I knew that
I
would
know.
come out of your mouth, I would have kept the dog on the floor.
Yeah, the little doggy voice. Ian's doggy voice comes into play. Yeah, that's treat him talking to him like a little baby. I know. I'm guilty sometimes of that. All right, LA Edmonton to wrap this thing up 73-74. Man, there's been a lot of games today. 73-74 here. LA -125, road favorite, total 5.5, shaded to the under -115. I know I always say don't always knee jerk bet must win teams, but I like the confidence LA exuded and just really crushing Colorado under their boot the other night, 7-1. I think it was one of their best complete performances of the season. They broke out offensively. Really, Jeff Carter, since he's been back, has made a lot of difference for the Kings offensively. I definitely like the confidence this team's played with. Against Winnipeg, it's a situation where they could have won that game in a tough building and a tough travel spot, beat Minnesota on the road. This is an LA team playing pretty good hockey right now. I know Edmonton's actually give them credit. I mean, their effort, Edmonton's been good lately. They've been competitive. They've been in games. They've won some games. They took down Florida. They took down Ottawa the last game. So Edmonton, Connor McDavid and company, they're still coming to work, putting their hard hats on, their work boots on, and giving you an honest effort most nights. But I really like the way LA's trending right now in terms of their play on the ice. You got Edmonton returning home off a long road trip. It's a little bit of a tough spot for them. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the $1.20 here with the LA Kings in this hockey game tonight. Minus, again, Heritage, again, cheaper on my side than everybody else. -120 on LA. That's where we're going to go in that game from a side perspective. Kings, really good week for them. Beat Minnesota, could have beat Winnipeg on the road. Two great teams on the road. Could have easily won 2-0 in those games, and then you crush Colorado Thursday night. LA perking up, playing good, playing like they want to be in the playoffs, and LA is going to be my choice there in that game, -120 as they take on the Edmonton Oilers. All right, that's going to wrap it up. That was a big mammoth card. We've gotten through it. It's time for best bets to wrap up the Saturday show. Let's go around the horn. Let's go to Andrew first. See if his audio is synced up and good this time around. Andrew, go for it. Best bet for the Saturday slate.
Can I get a Leafs under 6?
Okay.
Can I get a Leafs under 6?
Jeez, you look like radar on Nash.
You look like the weatherman there, yeah. Hi, I'm reporting here. We got the Hurricane Sandra coming through here, ready to wipe my ass off the planet, off the face of this earth.
Yeah, no, guys, just going with under 6. I think it's going to be a tight game, personally. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I think the Leafs have the goaltending. I think right now Detroit is sort of actually looking, like they can kind of keep a game close. Their team isn't looking too crappy right now. They're staying in games, and that tells me with the fatigue factor with the Leafs, I think they're going to just work to kind of keep this game a little bit under the total. Happy to see that 6 number, and I'll take that as my best bet, under 6, Red Wings and the Leafs.
All right, Detroit, Toronto, under 6 for Andrew. His best bet. Dana, what do you got for best bet?
Well, because I'm going to say it right this time. I'm going with Halak and Forsberg, thinking that Berube's not going to play with Forsberg. I think that's the right way now. But anyway, hey, look, guys, I you know me, man. I love to pile on, and if I lose, I want to lose big. But I'm going under the 6.5 for the Islanders-Chicago game. I know it goes back to last season, but this particular series has trended under. And if Halak plays tonight, I really do expect a good effort out of him.
All right, under 6.5 for Dana Lane, Chicago, and the New York Islanders. Jonathan Taves, by the way, out as well for Chicago, so there's a detriment as well to this Blackhawks team. Not that they're already dealing with enough, but yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taves out for this team. Actually, probably makes them worse defensively than offensively, but we'll see how that goes. Alex B. Smith, best bet for you.
Well, I got an afternoon game. I'm going with the San Jose Sharks on the puck line, -1.5. Plus, you can find it around $1.75, maybe $1.80. In 8 of their last 10 wins, San Jose has covered the puck line, and 5 of those came as a favorite. This Calgary team, like I said, they've just completely fallen off the face of the earth right now. They've lost 8 of their last 12. So I think San Jose gets it done and gets it done big. I'm going with the Sharks on the puck line as my best bet.
All right, Sharks on the puck line, and again, Calgary, their last 5 losses, the last 5 games that they've lost, all 2 goals or more margins of defeat. So, yeah, if you like San Jose, I'm telling you, probably better bang for your buck. Take them San Jose puck line, which Alex B. Smith is doing, and he's doing it as his best bet for the Saturday card. For me, we're going to see if this Carolina goaltending can continue to be horrendous, and I think it will be. You look at Carolina, this recent stretch, 6, 4, 3, 7, 5. In terms of goals allowed their last 6 games. They've gone over the total in 6 straight games. I think you're going to see Scott Darling. He's actually even worse than Cam Ward, so I love that. You got Ottawa that's given up 13 goals in their last 2 games combined. Florida hangs 7 on them. Edmonton hangs 6 on them. I think we get over this 6, 4-3, 5-3 kind of game. Definitely can see it. We'll go Carolina, Ottawa, over 6, best bet for Saturday. That's going to wrap up the show. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Great show as always. First time together, the 4 of us. So if we're a little goofy and a little batty today, that's probably the explanation for you. We will be back with a special bonus edition of the NHL Ice Guys Monday morning, March 26, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be here. 4 shows this week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, breaking down the NHL card from a betting perspective. Join us Monday, 9 a.m. for the next edition of the Ice Guys. For Andrew, Dana, and Alex, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Join me at the top of the hour. I'll be back with Big Man on Campus, Donnie Rightside with Big Man Bracket Busters, previewing the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament. Till then, we'll see you again on Monday with another edition of the Ice Guys. Enjoy your Saturday card, enjoy the games, and good luck. We'll see you again on Monday.